daughter, sister, wife, mother, aunt, grandmother, friend. Mum was all of these, and in true mum style, she excelled in all of them. Mum had a saying, if you're going to do something, you need to do it properly. She was in many ways a perfectionist and liked things to be done properly, whether that be arranging flowers, decorating, or cleaning, at which she was the master. Katie and I used to joke so many times that she'd better have cleaned the house to Lynda's standard because it was get by your bed kit inspection time when she came home to England. Mum was blessed with so many gifts. She was kind, caring, generous. I'm not going to push my luck here and say sympathetic. Mum had the most amazing ability to love boundlessly. She loved with abandonment and endlessly. Mum and Dad have taught my sisters and I how to love others regardless of colour, race, different beliefs, rich or poor. Mum bridged all gaps in her compassion and concern for all. She lived her life fully aware of the call of the Lord on it. I have always known their homes to be a place of welcome to all. Both Mum and Dad have an amazing gift, hospitality. I have known them to give to others without going without themselves. They are able to see a gap, step in, encourage, assist, and show the love of Jesus. Mum was born in Stamford, 2nd of March 1947, to Peter and Constance Marriott, who were Salvationists. Her wonderful sister, AC, Auntie Chrissy, whatever we want to call her tonight, she was born a few years later. Mum and Dad met in 1964, and during the time before they were actually married, Mum used to regularly drive backwards and forwards to see Dad, which was quite a long way in those days in my granddad's old cart. So from a young age, Mum was determined, independent, and had an adventurous spirit. They married in 1968 and they relocated to sunny, glorious Redcar on the northeast coast. Fred Griffiths. Here's the confession of the evening. I was born on January the 14th, 1969. On the 21st of April, a glorious day, my sister Katie was born. And on the 4th of June in 1972, our idyllic lives were shattered because Kelly was born. In 1975, as a family, we moved to Newfoundland due to Dad being employed at the refinery and come by chance. We lived a really adventurous life there, and each Sunday we would make the journey to the Salvation Army in St. John's. And I just think it's remarkable that how wonderful it is that after so many years later, their links for Mum and Dad have been re-established with people from Newfie. And they had the most wonderful holiday there recently, where they were made honorary Newfie people, whatever, and they got to wear really dashing yellow hats and kiss the cod. Okay, some think the English are strange. We returned back to the UK for a few years, and then in 1979, Dad secured employment based in Alexandria, Egypt. Once again, we went en masse. One of my favourite memories is of one of our first days. Dad had gone to work, no surprise, and Mum had taken me and my sisters for a walk along the Corniche. And basically, we were playing on the beach, and this gentleman kind of like took a shine to Mum. And every time she moved, he followed her. And every time she sat on the bench, he sat on the bench next to her. So we kept moving along the benches. And then basically what happened is he put his arm around Mum. And my mum, in the days when you could, wore a rather large ivory bracelet, and she smacked him on the head. And then we heard from the beach, "Girls, we're leaving." And basically the three of us scuppered back up and she marched us back to the hotel. After our stint in Egypt, we returned to the UK, where Mum and Dad, along with their really good friend Stephen, started oil inspections. And there Mum and Dad would work side by side for many years. Mum had a wonderful gift of public speaking. She loved elocution. Whenever she was reading aloud, whether it be a poem, scripture, a song, she just brought it to life. Mum was the songster sergeant at the Corps in England, Middlesbrough Citadel, where we worshipped for many years, and I noticed while she was there that her love and wisdom was appreciated by so many. Mum loved so many people and took a genuine interest in all aspects of their lives. If you asked Mum to pray for you, you knew she was immediately on it. Mum loved so many people as if they were her own family. Our original unit may be 5, but I actually know it exceeds into the hundreds. Mum and Dad have found an amazing spiritual home here in Clearwater, and Mum has made, and Dad too, many wonderful friends. Mention has been made over these last few days about my mother's marvellous earring collection, and the keen-eyed amongst you here, if you look, will see many are being worn, either by her granddaughters, her sister, her daughter, and it's lovely to see that, because her earrings have been quite a conversation point when you're out and about, with that people will stop her and ask her about her earrings, and she would stand and tell them. She always loved fashion. Along with my sisters, we spent so many hours as young girls sat outside changing rooms, particularly of a shop called Paul. Well, I say sat, we would be there until we were that naughty she removed us from the shop and made us sit in the car and wait. And let me tell you, it could be a long wait. Mum loved shoes and handbags, and she had great taste in both. Mum loved her sons-in-laws as the sons she never had, and I know that they loved her immensely. Her grandchildren. To them I would say, Grandma loved you all from the moment she knew about you. She eagerly awaited your births. She held you all in her arms, and from that day she has never let you go. She was proud of all of you. Keep being stylish and true to yourselves. In these recent months, as we all know, Mum was valiantly fighting cancer. As she did throughout her life, she approached it in a typical no-nonsense style, head on, no messing. It was always an honour to take her for her treatments. Well, I'm exaggerating there. As on my first visit to Tampa General Hospital, I caused a little chaos, which resulted in a code purple alert, a visit to accident and emergency, an overnight stay, a $22,000 bill. And as you can imagine, Mum has had a lot of mileage out of that. That said, the last time I did take Mum, which was in April, for her final, what would be her final chemo treatment, I finally got to meet Dr. Kerr. We are so grateful to both Dr. Kerr and Dr. Labour. Dr. Kerr came to see Mum and he spoke about their concerns. After a little while, he looked at me, then he looked at Mum and he said just how amazing she was and the way that she was handling her treatment. And you could just see he was in awe of Mum. It was amazing. And I felt tremendously proud. And I thought back at that time to the once or twice, perhaps, she felt proud of me. And I thank God that in that moment I shared that emotion. Sadly, on June the 23rd, 2018, was to be the day Mum was welcomed home. What a rapturous welcome she received. Mum went to glory as she lived, with grace and without a fuss. I started by saying daughter, sister, wife, mother, and grandmother, friend. But most importantly, Mum was a child of the King. It says in Joel 1, verse 3, "Tell it to your children, and let your children tell it to their children, and their children to the next generation." It would be remiss of me, and Mum would be most annoyed, if I didn't say tonight, if you are not telling your children, go and do it. If you do not know and love the glorious risen Lord, now is the hour, because the best is yet to come. And just before I go, as my tribute to Mum, I'm just going to sing one verse of a song that I first sang as a very little girl, and she bribed me with a book.